Hello, John McConnin here with UpsideDownRealEstate.com and FavoriteRealEstate.com. Today we're going to talk about, many of you are now seeing these investor proposals. They're getting sprayed out all over the place. Now, a very conscientious real estate broker will tell you that California Association of Realtors legal department recently sent out a memo that highly discouraged working with investors, straw buyers, property flippers, and all sorts of variations on that theme. It was almost implicit that they were acting like you have some sort of duty, your real estate agent has some sort of duty to give the bank a good offer or their best offer. I know many agents. I've been involved in bulletin boards on the internet at some of the large real estate portals where the buyers think it's their duty to turn over the best offer to the bank. Let me just say quickly, I believe it's a real estate agent's fiduciary duty and a lawyer's fiduciary duty to get the best result they can for their client. For me, it doesn't matter what the number is on the contract. It would matter what the financial result is for your client. Have you been able to negotiate a release from the deficiency in writing? Then maybe you consider doing a short sale. If you can't, then you really have some issues. You better bring a lawyer into the picture to go over the sort of a cost-benefit analysis of the situation. Two, what's going to go on with taxes? And obviously taking lower offers could affect your taxes, but with the Mortgage Debt Forgiveness Act being passed in California, that might be less of a factor for most people, and it might not even be a factor for people who are taking business losses on these properties. And then we've got taxes, we've got deficiency, we've got credit concerns. Credit can be negotiated, but it's difficult. The credit concerns can be negotiated away. And finally, some people might be willing to do a short sale because they have to for job-related reasons, avoid a foreclosure. That's where our focus lies, on the needs of the client, not the needs of the bank. So therefore, in light of that fact, I think that you need to consider working with investors, especially when you have two loans, if the investor is willing to reserve some money to help pay off the second and agree that they're only going to go through with the deal if they can negotiate a release from the deficiency, or at that stage, if they can't negotiate a release from the deficiency, I think then there better be a lawyer advising the client on these issues about whether they should go ahead and do a short sale and work with that investor. But the investor needs to give you an out. So let me just give you examples of some not so nice investor deals. We got this recent letter of intent on a property. Letters of intent, commercial real estate related. They're ways to get the ball rolling. They're probably a waste of time for a real estate in a residential setting. I suppose you still have to pass it on to your client, but it's a total waste of time because like we usually say, it doesn't matter if it's not on paper. Someone wants to make an offer, tell them to put it in writing. But sometimes you're going to get a writing like this on the 1107 car purchase agreement paperwork. Now, I don't even know if real estate agents are licensed to work with the 07 agreement anymore. I would argue that it's just a big liability trap for them. And why? Because I think this thing's slanted to the buyer's side. They don't want to use the current paperwork. And you'll also frequently see offers at 60%. They act like they have these big formulas, but normally it's about 60% of what they deem the current market value to be. Now, sometimes this might work, but we also see the banks sometimes say, hey, that's just below our threshold. We're never going to look at it. If an investor wants to waste their time, but they want to protect your client, you should consider working with them, but not with this kind of paperwork. You need the current car forms. You need to have separate addendums, which the client is protected, probably that have been reviewed and drafted by a lawyer from these investors, because some investors are good and they understand that they need to make a win-win. Others really do submit some really horrendous paperwork. They frequently set up properties in trust. They have these confusing terms. Actually, they're contradictory terms where one says they're going to work for you and the next minute says, no, they're going to just try to get the deal done on any terms for themselves. I mean, really misleading paperwork. So in summary, consider doing a short sale. Consider doing it with a real estate investor. Make sure you've got a great agent and probably an attorney on your side. Thank you.